Hi, everyone. My name's Eli. I lead in-car distribution strategy for the BBC. I'm also chair of the EBU's Connected Cars and Devices Working Group. Nice to see all of you here. Welcome to this short session on Personalised Radio. We've heard from a couple of people today. Jean-François Laballe and Xavier Filiol talked about how important it is for in-car audiences to feel like they're getting something personalized. And indeed, our own, the Connected Cars and Devices Working Group at the EBU, one of our principles is that radio should feel personal and personalized while being transparent about people's data. So it's an important issue. And for this session, we've got two great stories and two great people to tell them from two pretty different points of view, two kind of different stories to tell. So first we have Rainer, Technical Director and Deputy Managing Editor at Rainer Biehn, I should say, in Bavaria. He's responsible for the coordination and implementation of technical projects and products there. He started his career at the Institute for Rundfunktechnik, where he played a crucial role in error protection mechanisms in DAB.
Long time ago.
Long time ago. But I suspect he'll be familiar to some of you here. And also with us is Eugenio La Teana, Head of Innovation at RTL 102.5. He worked on the development of Radiovisione, which fused TV and radio, and he serves on the World DAB Steering Board and the EBU's European Digital Radio Alliance. He is a country manager of Radio Player Italia and COO of Eurodab Italia. Welcome to you both.
Thank you.
So I'm going to start with you, Eugenio. You're working on personalized radio.
Yeah.
Why?
Because the radio have to go on. I mean that my mainly job is the innovation. And honestly, today we speak about radio, and I see a figure about a big number, 81%, 85% listening the radio into the car. That is real. But the reality is that if you ask to someone that is young and say, radio is sexy, the response is probably no. They think that Spotify is sexy. So the point is that we cannot stop. And my job is, as head of innovation of a company, is to try to make something that is not now, but is something that is the preparation for something that is the future. And so it's very important that the radio go on in terms of innovation. And honestly, when the topic of this discussion is referred to the personalization of DAB+, in my personal point of view, DAB+ could help the radio, and is something that is concrete in our country, like in Italy, because it is served into the car. But the real point is the hybrid radio. Why? Because the way to create personalization of the radio is to get information from the user. Data are very important because if you understand the listening habits of the person, you can provide content that are more related to their experience.
And so you're saying using the internet in order to get some of that data?
Is the only way to get some data back.
Okay. And I should just, before you go on, I should just say, these videos that you're seeing here, you're watching two videos on a loop. This one is from Eugenio, and the other one, which is showing some, and we'll hear more about this, the other one is from Rainer, which is showing some more technical details of how you can take bits and pieces from one and put them to the other. Anyway, these are two videos from them. They're on a loop. We'll explain a little bit more about them in a second. So,
very fast point. What do we like to do? When I think, and we think about, in terms of company, about personalized radio, we don't think about how Spotify works in terms of personalization. They create a playlist for the user. We don't want to create personalization playlist for the user. We would like to create a personalized experience for the user. We can get the data we understand how the people consume the radio, and we can provide some kind of experience in terms of accessibility to the content that give them the sexy experience of the radio. Like we see in the research, they love the fact that the radio is very fast in terms of click a button and get the content. But if we can get the better content for them in the perfect moment, we arrive to the goal.
So can you give me an example of how that would work in practice? Like, how would it look for the driver in the car in your vision of a personalized radio that's using data that you've collected from them?
I give you an example.
Yeah.
It's an idea. If we know that one driver loves the news, and the first thing that when sitting down in the car is to get the latest news, the idea is that you can provide a button on the interface of the car that you can click and get the last news. So this is an example. Or you can, if you also can get some information related to the position, to the weather, to anything of information, you can compile some fast access to the content that can serve the better content for them. Because the point is that we are working with the time of entertainment. We have to be as good as we can to provide, to be the best content for them in that moment. Mm-hmm. And with the connected car, we will be not alone. We see a lot of video, but the car, the unique entertainment service into the car was the radio. But in the future, will be not the radio.
Now, listen, Eugenio, I'm going to challenge you there because you say that you think hybrid radio or internet-enhanced kind of radio is really the way to get this sort of vision of hybrid, right, of personalized radio where, let's say I like the news or I like the weather, I'd like to be able to access that right away. Now, Rainer is talking about using a piece of the DAB spec that's been there since the beginning to actually provide what you're talking about, just through DAB. Rainer, can you explain a little bit about what you're talking about?
I can do that. So we have initiated a project called ART, which is an abbreviation for Announcement Radio Toolbox. And we just try to achieve that without using mobile data connections. Personalization without mobile data connections, even for the simplest kitchen radios, for instance. They are not connected usually, or the implementation is not that advanced. But there should be some ways to get more personalized experience for the users by using a feature called announcements, DAB announcements. This is really there from the beginning, but has rarely been used up to now. So you all know that from FM traffic announcements where you get a short interruption for a traffic report and then it goes back to the program you listen to. In DAB, there's 16 of these announcement types like news, weather, sports, and so on, which can be used for exactly this personalization. As you can see on the slides, maybe not at the moment, but in a minute, you can see that we set up 5 radio stations with content which is not that mainstream, like jazz music or electronic music or even Bavarian bands. You can listen to that. And you get music only. And if you want to be, and there's a 6th channel, it's called Info, which consists of spoken word elements which are matching the DAB announcement types. So there's news, weather, and so on. You can select in your car radio which announcement types you like to be interrupted by. You select it in the user interface of the car or kitchen radio, whatever it is. And as soon as this element appears in the info station, the receiver switches, for instance, from if a user has selected to listen to jazz music and has announcements for sports and warnings and weather. As soon as the sports block is in the info radio, the receiver switches to that info service. You listen to the sports block and you go back to your music. And that's more or less like a real radio station. We have music only if you want it. And you can add information from this additional channel. You can also, that's an idea I just got, you could also store these parts in the receiver based on these announcement signaling. And you could have, in the user interface, you could also press a button, say, give me the latest news, because I've recorded this in the receiver just 5 minutes ago. Would be possible as well.
So if this is so great, why hasn't anybody done it before? It's been in the DAB spec for so long.
Right.
Why not?
Good question, yeah. I think in the beginning, there were more or less traditional radio stations with elements like sports and so on in it. They didn't need this additional information because they had these elements already baked in.
Right.
And it would be maybe confusing for listeners to just hear the sports block from BBC One and then get another sports block from BBC News or whatever it is. So maybe this is one of the reasons, and also nowadays it's easier to set up such an info channel. You can just a low-cost implementation. In the art project we are using text-to-speech, for instance, for it, just to produce some of these spoken word elements. So maybe this is the right time.
Would this work on current receivers, or would you need some sort of new equipment? Would receiver manufacturers need to create something new for this?
Some receivers, especially in the car domain, they already have implemented it in full form, meaning that the user can select every single announcement type individually. This is crucial because some receivers also have only a selection to switch all announcements on or off, which would mean that you get interrupted by information you don't want. You told me yesterday that you had a quite annoying experience with a rental car, constantly interrupting with traffic reports, and you didn't know how to get rid of it.
I couldn't turn it off.
So maybe we have to do some work to improve that. But in principle, many car radios have it. We also want to see it in kitchen radios, and we have a partnership with one receiver manufacturer putting this feature into a normal kitchen radio as well.
If I can add
of course,
regarding this consideration, yes, and we are talking about also some complicated way to use the radio. Probably in the next future, we will speak with the radio. So I mean that the natural process languages, when we can speak, we have also to think about an easy way to use the services on that, and will be a good step. And is also part of the personalization of the radio. So I mean that personalization means that you create a relationship with the radio that is different from the past. You are not passive, but you are active. You can interact with the radio. Doesn't mean personalization is a part of it. Like, if I can add a point regarding the video, where is, let me say, something is like a provocation. I mean that we know that we are in borderline, we are showing a video, because we are Radiovisione. We built a layer on top of the radio that is the visual radio. Why? Because in Italy, people have the devices, most of the people don't have the receiver in the house. Now, no one. And so all the people have the television. How we can be there? We have to create the radio for the TV. And so we invent the Radiovisione. But now the Radiovisione become a perfect content for the radio that stay in the car of the next future. The autonomous drive, the point that in the backside, the low cost of the screen, we will have also on the backside. And so the personalization means that if you would like to have the video part, you can have it. So if you're not driving, you can see the video. If you move, you see the metadata, but on the backside, you can have the video. And it's a personalized experience of consumption of the radio, and means that the radio become more sexy, and we can compete with the other player. That's the point.
You also have some ideas about using AI for personalized radio, Eugenio?
Definitely yes, because cars are becoming connected device. Connected device means that you can collect data. Collect data with the new technology means that you can use data, manipulate, and make analytics of data, and you can make possible the retrieve of information that happens because the data give to the intelligence you're needed. And so that's the idea. So we have to go there because the competition stay in who push the content most strongest, and the best content for you win the battle. So the radio have to play this game. That's the point.
So let's talk about timetables here. This sounds like long-term.
Yeah.
And what about Radiovisione in cars? Is that something you're actively working on?
Yeah. The application is already done. I work on Automotive OS, and so is let me say POC, but POC already done. So we will publish on some store, and I hope that all the car automotive brands that are here would like to have it in the car. So we are open to provide.
Okay. Rainer, what sort of timetable are you looking at for this? It's called the ART project. Yeah.
This is short term. We are currently setting up everything. We want to. We have radio playout and DAB multiplexing in the cloud, which is also quite new for us. We want to get more experience in this domain, and we want to start transmission in August at latest in a DAB network which covers the south of Bavaria, including the city of Munich. There, everyone with a DAB receiver, of course, can receive the stations, and those with announcement-enabled receivers, of course, they can benefit from this personalization experience I explained. And we will have a transmission for around about 6 months.
Right, and what happens after that 6 months?
I don't know.
Yeah, okay.
It depends on the results, more or less, I think. But I would like to encourage everyone interested in implementing this feature to approach us and discuss with us, and we can also provide recordings of the stream, ETI or EDI streams. You don't have to come to the area. You can also get some signals recorded from us as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can I say only the last point that I think, what I show, and I think that is very important to keep in mind, is we work obviously as a brand in a vertical application. That's the maximum expression of our content. But probably is not enough to keep the radio strong. I mean that radio, if we keep our brand respect on Spotify, we are like nothing. But if we think about radio in terms of global offer of content, and we can provide a good experience in terms of digital, we could be strong enough to compete with the other player, and we have to think about it. So we have, let me say, the strongest user that think only about RTL 102.5 100% of their life, but there are people that love radio in terms of zapping, can switch from one to the other. And so we are working strong in a project that is Radio Player, that is trying to enhance the experience of the radio in terms of everything that we can do, but with all the content of the radio. So I think that we have to continue to think about that to be strong enough into the car.
To work together.
Yeah, work together.
To keep radio prominent.
Exactly.
Yes. Okay,
That's
brilliant. Anything else to add? No? Okay, well that's all I've got. Thank you very much, everyone.